Welcome back to the Public Figures Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Jabaz, and here with me as my ever faithful co-host,
Johnny
Ryan is here. Famed underground cartoonist, voice of the underground, America's bad boy.
Right.
Yeah. How's everything going? I haven't talked to you in a while. It seems like it's been kind of like a busy week for you.
Oh, it's just all the evenings were sort of taken up. A friend of mine is in that movie. Do you know that movie Project X?
Yeah.
The party movie from 2000 and something.
Yeah, I like that movie.
10. Well, they were doing a screening, and he invited me, so I went there to check it out on Friday. So I couldn't do anything Friday, and I think I had a mandate on Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
So it's just a bunch of things kind of started to happen on my free nights.
I was thinking we should get your boy JJ Villard on the show.
Yeah, you could ask JJ.
Because, well, you know, you're his friend. I've talked with him once just via email when I was trying to, just make some sort of connections when I was doing animation. And so I have like one email with him. And what he would do is he would end, anytime that there was a word that ended with the letter S, he'd put like 8 S's on the end of it.
Yeah, he's really good at texting. Like he has all sorts of little symbols and he uses all the little punctuations. It's fun.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of his texting skills.
He seems like a real master. But
text master.
That sounds like a joke that you would use on the World Record podcast.
Okay. I'll sell that to Brendan for $10.
Yeah. Is Brendan your best friend?
Of course.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How often a week do you see him?
I haven't seen him in a while, actually. It's been a while. It's been a couple months, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Jeez.
But he did assist on Campground Slut. So.
Well, I mean, he did while you were in Japan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
I did a 12-pager.
Yeah, that I'm sure there was a big drop-off of subscribers at that point.
No, actually, no. Campground Slut did pretty well on Patreon. Much better than anything else I've done.
Really?
Before or after.
Huh, that's crazy. I guess I was riveted. Like that's maybe the one that I think is the craziest that you've done.
Well, I'm hoping that, maybe you'll get some movie offers from Brazzers or Vivid Video.
Yeah, well, yeah. Don't
dog fart. Maybe.
Don't hold your breath. Maybe Mike in Brazil will give you a call.
Okay.
We should probably get down to business here and start talking about the movies that we have in the thumbnails.
Sure. What's in the thumbnails?
I was hoping we could talk about Alligator and also Hell or High Water.
Okay.
Yeah. Which one do you want to start with?
Alligator, I guess.
Are you sure? How do you feel about Hell or High Water?
Well, which one are we going to do first?
We're going to do
Alligator first?
We're going to do Hell or High Water first.
All right, well, just lead the way.
No, you have to lead the way. I led the way last time.
No. Well, this was your pick, so you start off talking about it.
All right. Hell or High Water is a 2016 film, action film starring Ben Foster and Chris Pine, and also Jeff Bridges as the almost retired sheriff of the town. Directed by a fella named David Mackenzie, but written by Taylor Sheridan. And Taylor Sheridan went on to do the show. What's that show called again? It's called Yellowstone.
Yellowbeard?
Yeah, Yellow Snow. So he went on to do Yellowstone, which is a show that I tried watching, but I can't get into. It's just too whatever's going on in Hell or High Water, it's too much of that, but without like sort of the fun violence and kind of like action stuff that comes in. So like basically it's about these two brothers who are trying to get money to pay off the mortgage for their mother's property because the bank is trying to take it away. And the younger brother, played by Chris Pine, comes up with a plan of going around and just kind of robbing 5, 10s, and 20s out of the register, like deposit cash, not bands of cash, because those can be traced. So it's like basically untraceable cash, petty cash, like at a bank. I don't know how many they do, like maybe like 15 to 18 banks. They can get the money, they can pay off the mortgage, and they can ostensibly get away with it because they're kind of doing it in little bits and pieces. But Jeff Bridges' character, Sheriff Marcus something or other, Sheriff Marcus Hamilton, kind of, sees a pattern where no one else does, and he manages to kind of on a hunch get ahead of them, and then there's sort of a conflict, and it's this movie that kind of goes with two threads. One is the brothers kind of doing their thing, and the brothers are having kind of a little bit of a sort of a rough relationship, because the younger one, who's kind of more straight and narrow, and the other one who's in and out of jail all the time, they're also very like loyal. The older one, Ben Foster's also kind of a loose cannon, and he does fucked up shit. Like he'll all of a sudden just go and rob a bank that's not on the list. And then you have the other thread, which is Jeff Bridges and Alberto Parker, the Native American partner of Jeff Bridges, who are kind of on their tail, and those two have kind of an interesting relationship as well. Kind of old man friends, which I found pretty entertaining to watch. And then it just culminates to sort of like a crescendo, and then it kind of ends, and then there's sort of an epilogue. And I find this to be a very satisfying, like modern Western, kind of in the vein of something like No Country for Old Men, but like really rounded off on the edges and kind of less weird and admittedly less good than No Country for Old Men, but still feels kind of the same. Still that sort of like West Texas modern Western. I'm happy this movie exists. I'm happy that our boy Taylor Sheridan exists. I kind of like the kind of stuff that he does. So yeah, that's how I feel about Hell or High Water.
Good. Yeah, this movie wasn't good.
What the hell are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about?
Look, this felt like some kind of Netflix movie, and I mean that in the worst possible way. It felt like, hey, let's do No Country for Old Men, but tweak it a little bit. Like the whole old sheriff just kind of like moseying after the criminals. That was like in No Country for Old Men, another piece of shit movie. So
you think that No Country for Old Men is a piece of shit movie?
Yeah, it's
Why?
A terrible movie.
It's not.
Well, we'll get to
how.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. I'm not into all this sentimental corncobbery with the South. It's totally immersed in like, look at all these cute Southern characters. Look at all these quaint Southern fucking places. It was just really ponderous. And then the fact that Chris Pine and the other guy are brothers, I'm not buying it. Like one looks like Elvis, the other one sometimes looks like Screech, and sometimes he looks like Danny Bonaducci. Like I wasn't buying that they were brothers at all. And the relationship between Jeff Bridges and the half-breed sheriff, I wasn't interested in their relationship. Like he just kind of was. Jeff Bridges was always busting the half-breed's balls, and the guy just kind of would just sit there and take it and look all sad, and it was just depressing. Like it was just kind of like I was kind of hoping they would have a little bit more of a a back and forth, a little freebie in the bean kind of exchange, but you don't get that either.
A little what? A little freebie in the bean?
Yeah, that James Caan movie with Alan Arkin.
I never saw it.
Oh. So in that movie, it's two cops, and James Caan is like white cop, and Alan Arkin plays a Mexican or Spanish cop. And there's more of a back and forth. But you're not getting that here. It's not like a fun back and forth. It's just sort of like Jeff Bridges is busting this guy's chops, and this guy just kind of he just looks like he's gonna cry every time. And it's just I don't know. There wasn't much to it. It wasn't interesting to me. It just seemed like a by the numbers and yeah. At the end, I think we're supposed to be oh yeah, cool. They got away with it and they saved the farm and now they're millionaires from their oil wells. But
the one guy died.
Right, that one Screech dies, but the other one is still alive, and he's I wanted Jeff Bridges to shoot him in the face. I wasn't feeling oh, this guy deserved it. I felt like this guy was a fucking scumbag.
So you would rather he got shot in the face rather than shot in the chest or whatever?
No, well. He gets shot in the stomach. But I'm talking about at the very end when they're having the confrontation, when Jeff Bridges goes to the house and says, I know you put this in motion and you got my partner killed. And Chris Pine is well, fuck you, kind of basically.
Not really.
And I was yeah, he was. He was totally just sort of yeah, well, maybe let's take this up later. He was very confrontational.
No, I didn't read that. I didn't read it that way at all. I read it more he wanted to try to have closure with you killed my brother, I killed your or my brother killed your partner. You can either say fuck off and never come back, or he's I rent a house in town, maybe you can come by and we can continue this conversation. I think that he wanted to. I think there was a understanding between the two of them, and I think that they.
I wanted him to shoot him right there in the face. I didn't like him. I didn't like his attitude. Mm-hmm. I didn't like it. So yeah, and you were just saying, that sort of sentimental corncobbery that is all over the movie is even more in that Yellowstone TV show. I can totally see that. They really immerse themselves in it. It's really it's so on the nose. It's just fucking lame.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you, man. That you call it corncobbery or sort of. I guess the implication is that it's not genuine or it's a put on. But I don't know. I feel it's pretty genuine.
No. I'm not saying it's not genuine. I'm just saying they hammered over your fucking head. Okay, I get it. Everybody down there's poor. Everybody's losing their farm. Everybody's in debt to the bank. Everybody's it was just sort of they just sort of hit you over the head with it, and it just is sort of I found it oppressive.
I guess this is one of those cases where I just like what you didn't like. I like that stuff. I think that stuff's cool. I
think you can find better. Deliverance is a perfectly good example of going down south and sort of exploring that world of deep Southern culture, and it works. It's sort of it's not hammering you over the head. It's just sort of here's these people, here's how they live. You're not feeling oh, I'm supposed to feel bad. I'm supposed to pity these people. I'm supposed to, that's not what that movie Deliverance is doing, but it's what this movie is doing. And yeah, that kind of always makes me sick.
I don't feel the same way about those characters. I feel I don't feel pity or I feel so sad for these people. It's more just this is the reality, and like they're in a hard place, with the world is changing, and it's like, how does this town stay open anymore? You got a mom and pop hardware store that charges twice as much as a Home Depot, and like how does this town stay alive? And it's like this town's been alive for 150 years, and the hardship reveals kind of the toughness, and I guess ultimately what I'm trying to say is that I don't think that these are like sad, pathetic people. I just feel like they're just
of course not, because look at Chris Pine. He's gorgeous. Like, he doesn't look like he lives there.
Yeah, man. No, cowboys are fit, man. Guys who fucking rustle cattle and ride horses and do all that kind of shit.
He doesn't look like a cowboy. He looks like a Hollywood carpetbagger.
Well, you gotta fucking cast a movie with fucking stars. I mean, that's just the name of the game. Burt Reynolds is in Deliverance.
Yeah, he's fucking great in Deliverance. But like Chris Pine could get himself like make himself like, maybe, I don't know, knock out a tooth or something. Like, make himself look a little like he lives down there. Make him like look poor.
What am I gonna do? Am I gonna put a picture of Burt Reynolds in the Burt Reynolds pose in the thumbnail just to make my point? You know what I mean? Like Burt Reynolds is as much of a stud muffin.
But Burt Reynolds isn't living there. He's going down there to canoe down the river. He's not one of the people living in the cabin playing the banjo.
Yeah, we're not talking about the Ozarks. We're talking about West Texas. We're not talking about like
I didn't buy him. I didn't buy him as a guy from Texas. I didn't buy it.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, man. The thing is he's the character. Did you buy Ben Foster as a guy who lives down there?
I guess, but like I said, he looks like Screech. He looks like Danny Bonaducci. Like, I don't think he's. I don't know. Like, I feel like he's just sort of like, oh, I'm Screech playing a tough guy. If you like Screech, then you'll like this movie. I give this movie 3 screeches.
3 screeches out of a possible 5 screeches.
The 5 screeches. If you're a fan of Screech and you want his legacy to continue, and you want to see like what would Screech be like if he was in a Texas holdup movie, then this is the movie for you.
This kind of movie.
Or if you were a fan of Breaking Bonaducci, you might like this film as well.
This kind of film, and I would say also Taylor Sheridan's sort of contribution to culture over the last, I don't know, I'm not sure how long, maybe like the last like 10 years or so, represents kind of, in my opinion, sort of the kind of movie that like maybe the other side, like I consider them to be, even though they are very Hollywood and these are movies that are widely, thought of as being good movies by the normal outlets, like Variety and shit like that. So they're very much Hollywood movies starring Hollywood actors and stuff. But there is sort of like an anti-Hollywood kind of like right-wing kind of the other side of America, the flyover parts of America, like that kind of thing. Like I think Yellowstone is like, Yellowstone is like a very popular show, but you don't really hear people talking about it because it's not like an LA or New York kind of thing. It's just sort of like the other Americans, the ones that, that we have to live with, I guess. I don't know. I appreciate, like, I think that No Country for Old Men is kind of the same thing. It's a little bit, I feel like No Country for Old Men, just because of that one character that's played by what's his face?
Antonio Banderas.
So Antonio Banderas' character in No Country for Old Men, is just this wild, kooky character that kind of, it's almost on the same level as like a Batman villain, like the Joker or something like that. Just some guy who's just a superhuman or whatever. And that kind of spins the whole thing into this, I don't know, almost like a mythical place. But I don't know, I like this kind of vibe. I like this kind of, at the end of the day, your guns are going to save you. At the end of the day, tough guys are going to, kick the asses of pussies who just kind of posture, like the guy in the muscle car who flashes his piece at Chris Pine, or no, at Ben Foster, and then Chris Pine comes up and sucker punches him. This kind of stuff I think is I think it's cool. I guess just what you think is ponderous and lame, and like these quaint Kenny Powers' girlfriend in Eastbound and Down. These kinds of characters, that's not interesting to you. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe
not at all.
Maybe I'm like Sergio Leone, looking at John Wayne movies and just getting all caught up in sort of the mythology of it, because it's so removed from me that I can get romantic about it in a way that you can't, apparently. And and then Sergio Leone goes off and makes his own sort of style of Western that amps up everything to like this hyper mythologized way. I like how this movie feels real. There's like a realness to it that I like. Like I like also just this idea of like a modern Western where it's exactly the same land that all those other movies sort of took place on in terms of the story, but it's like, okay, this is how it is now, like 100 years later. And I think it's a point of view that I don't see very often in other movies, and like sort of the more the LA, New York movies that we see. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think this is a good movie. For me, this is like a good 3.5 to 4. I'll even say 4. This is a 4 out of 5 eggplant for me.
This is real hokey. If you like hokey shit, if you like Netflix movies, it was almost as if sort of like Netflix is like, we need to make a movie to get like men. Like men need to watch a movie. What's a good movie for men? Okay, here's the formula. Okay, go make it. Like it's hokum jokum.
What's a good movie made after 2000 that you think is a good, like that's like a man movie?
See, now you've got me on the spot. A good man movie after 2000?
Yeah.
I don't know. Taken?
Really? With Liam Neeson?
No, the other one. Yeah, Taken with Liam Neeson. I'm just like, you're putting me on the spot. Like, I think Taken is a good man movie. It's like a fucking guy who's just like literally like, oh, you took my daughter? Well, I'm just going to blast a trail across Europe to get her back.
Yeah, but he's also this
good man movie.
But he's also just this like superhero who basically is Liam Neeson plays Batman in that movie, and he's not really relatable in any kind of way. Like he's not like a real guy. He's just sort of
he's not poor and living in Texas, but I don't think you have to be poor for the movie to resonate with men.
I'm not saying that the difference is that he's poor. I'm saying that the difference is that he has like all the it's kind of like, what kind of training does he have? And it's like, well, whatever he has. All the training that you could possibly ever imagine, he has that, and all the martial arts, like weapons training.
You're saying Taken is not a good man movie. What is it?
No, I'm just saying that I like Taken. I like the first Taken, all right, but it's also like,
yeah, first Taken's great.
It's much less relatable. It's much less like, I can't put myself in his shoes as easily as I can.
Okay, well that's different. Now you're saying like you want something that's like a realistic man movie. Okay, well
I think that's part and parcel. I think it's kind of like something that like
Goodfellas is like a man movie, but is it relatable? I can't relate to that life.
You're Italian,
but I mean I can watch it and I can appreciate it as a man and get into like all the action and violence and all the bullshit in it. But
so like if Taken is sort of the man movie that you think is a good example, then by your metric, like Batman would be the same. Like Batman is a good man movie to watch, like The Dark Knight. Almost the same thing.
I mean, it's not a man movie, but I just don't think it's a good movie. So that's a different thing. Like you're asking me, what's a good movie? I don't think Batman is as good as Taken.
Do you have any parts of this movie that you thought were kind of cool at all, or were you just hating it the whole time?
The part you just mentioned, where like he punched the guy and the kid in the face at the gas station, that was cool. And I was glad that the half-breed partner got shot. Like I was hoping there would be, I was afraid that just the way the movie was going, that there wasn't going to be any kind of like major serious tragedy happening. because it didn't feel like it was going to be that type of movie. So I was glad when that guy got killed. Yeah, there's two.
I like the part where Ben Foster, they park the car perpendicular on the highway, and Ben Foster comes out with that, I think it's like a Colt 933, like automatic carbine, and he just starts like laying into those guys who are. That was also cool too. How like that bank robbery turned into a shootout because of all the concealed carries in that town. So like when they started running, all of a sudden just the whole town starts running after them, shooting, and then guys get into their trucks and start chasing them. Like, yeah, right. Fuck, let's kill these motherfuckers. And then Ben Foster comes out with a machine gun and starts just opening fire onto them, and they all go running. That part I think is very cool. That whole thing too with him just kind of going into the hills, and then when he that's my favorite part of the movie is the part where the
Another Good Man movie.
Yeah,
Dragged Across Concrete.
You're right. Yeah, that is really great too. We just talked
Hell in Cell Block 9.
Brawl in Cell Block 99.
Brawl in Cell Block 99.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a fucking great movie too.
Yep, and you can I mean, yeah, sure. I can give you those for sure. Those are fantastic films, 100%.
And they have like a conservative twinge to them that you love, that you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean
that you're seeing, you're kind of seeing in this what's it called, Hell or High Water. I think Zoller is a better director. He doesn't go for that type of sentimentality. He doesn't hammer something over your head. He just kind of presents it all to you.
Well, I don't. His dialogue is pretty quirky. He's got a little penchant for quirk to him. Quirky characters.
Quirky is different than sentimental.
Well, you're taking it as sentimental. For example, like that lady in Hell or High Water, the lady who's the waitress at that T-Bone diner. That's not sentimental to me at all. That's just
when the boys
character.
are like, when they're playing the shitty Nick Cave music, the fucking fake country music, while the boys are like fake fighting at the farm. Come on, man, that's like total sentiment.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there are moments of sentiment. I'm not going to contest you that there's no moments of sentimentality in this movie. I'd argue that
there's lots of moments.
I'd argue that there are plenty, and taken to the fucking nines in Cell Block 99. There's moments of sentimentality that are go far and beyond anything in this film. But I don't know,
when Jeff Bridges is like constantly like busting the balls of his half-breed partner, and like when they're in the hotel room and the half-breed partner like rolls over on the bed, I swear to God, I thought he was going to start to cry.
Yeah,
like it was just so like you wanted them to have this rapport where he like it would be like a little bit more like equal ball busting, but you don't get that. You just get sort of like you're just made to feel like, boy, this he's no fun, and he's just like constantly just weary from all the abuse, the racist abuse that the older policeman. Oh, and then here's the other scene I did like, but probably not for the reasons they probably didn't necessarily intend it. But like the moment when Jeff Bridges, he's retired now, and he goes back to the office, and he's sort of like, we need to check on this Chris Pine character. I think he was involved. And there's a lady cop there who's sort of like, oh, leave him alone. He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
and it reminded me of Betrayed with Deborah. Betrayed, where it's like the same kind of female cop. It's just, just leave that good looking guy alone. He didn't do anything.
Well, that's not the way. Like, I mean, you could say that for Kenny Powers' wife. Like,
it was a clear like message. Women cops are stupid. That's the message.
It's less about him being handsome. It's more about just like, well, he's never been arrested, and like,
and he's hot.
Yeah, that doesn't come up. That's you. That's your perception, man. You're putting It is. I mean, she was looking at his. She has his mugshots right there. You can't tell she's not
doing creaming in her jeans over that guy.
I think you might have been creaming in your jeans over Chris Pine.
I know I was.
But I mean, okay, listen. Anyone who's listening, go check out that film and tell us.
No, don't.
Tell us who thinks that part where Jeff Bridges goes to back to his office and there's the new cop at the office. Tell her that she was mainly motivated by the absolute undeniable fact that Chris Pine is just a piece of ass, and that's why she.
Look, they broadcast that to you through the whole movie. Like everybody that runs into Chris Pine is immediately like, oh my god! Like the waitress hits on him. Then
waitress for sure.
The lady at the casino hits on him.
Yep.
And then this lady cop, she sees his mugshot, and she's like, yeah, he's innocent. Like, it's just like one after the other.
I mean, listen, man, sometimes men are handsome, and it's a tough pill.
That's my point.
And it's a tough pill to swallow. But, Chris Pine just happens to be like this piece of ass, He's a man. He works with his hands. He's got a good physique because of that. And I think it's realistic that he's going to go through life and he's going to be the one who gets attention as opposed to his screech-looking brother, who maybe this factors into the story a little more than you think too. Like it factors into kind of their relationship. But okay, let's get off this after one point that I want to make. When Jeff, Jesus Christ, you dying over there? You gonna barf?
Sorry, good.
Yeah,
I had to rush and eat my dinner real fast. It's coming back up.
Sorry, man. You're having acid reflux because you're getting all worked up over there. But I was going to say that that part where Jeff Bridges' partner gets shot, and you see him finally have like sort of the only sort of emotional kind of falter that he has, like where he just kind of he freaks out and he kind of yelps like a kid when his friend gets killed, and he's like over him, just like in disbelief. Like, I can't believe this guy who I thought who's going to be around forever is dead now. Like, I thought that was a great moment of performance and of it really makes you think about the entire relationship and kind of what all of that ribbing and all of that kind of, as you say, abuse, like, meant to him. What it shows to me is just kind of this complex kind of relationship that these two guys had where, it may, to an onlooker, it may look like abuse, but maybe to him, it's more just like these two guys who are just very, very, very comfortable with each other and are very good friends. And
well, that's kind of what I was wanting to see, but like it's because we're seeing them interact with each other. We're in their private moments in the car, in the motel room, and so we're privy to their private conversations, and we can see that it doesn't feel like it's the type of fun back and forth banter where like, oh, you're a half-breed Indian, don't, oh, you're old. Like he kind of does a couple of old jokes, but like he seems to, he doesn't seem fully, like it's almost like painful for him to even to do that. Like he definitely just seems like he's just like this long suffering.
He's just not very good at it. He's just not very good at.
So it's just like their relationship
returning the insults. He's just not that guy.
And that's fine, but it's just like it's not. It's not interesting. Like it's not fun. It's just sort of like it just feels just sort of dull and pathetic.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, all of that, head scratching kind of like relationship. Why does this guy put up with this guy? Like what's going on with these two? Do they hate each other? Do they love each other? What's going on? And then kind of when he gets shot in the face and Jeff Bridges having that literally 3-second moment of reacting to that, that's when the entire relationship becomes clear for me. And that is interesting. That to me is like, I don't know, admirable filmmaking where I say, wow.
But even like now that we're talking about it, like it's almost like it's like everything was like building up to that point of like, oh, I bet you feel bad about what you said, now that he got shot in the head.
No. It's not. He would never feel bad about what he said. It's not like he feels bad that he never gave the guy a compliment.
And now I sort of feel like that moment was somewhat manipulative.
No, I don't think so.
Whereas I feel like if the guy gave it back as good as he was getting it, I think that death would have been even more impactful than it was.
It would just feel like something I'd seen before. It would just feel like that whatever the James Caan movie you said. The fucking
which you've never seen.
Yeah, I know. But whatever you're talking about,
I've seen this a million times before. Like in that James Caan movie, I've never seen before.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't even have to. I already know what you're talking about. Just sort of like the buddy cop, like the whatever, fucking Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. Like just that kind of thing where it's like very even sided. The relationship is very, very clear. You know that something's going to happen towards the end where their relationship is going to get tested.
So we've seen it before. Okay, well, if you're going to do something new, then it has to be equal to or better than what I've seen before, and this wasn't it.
I thought it was. I thought it was something new, and therefore, if something's new and it works, it's not necessarily better. It's not necessarily better. Work. If something's new and it works, which I think it does. I mean, if you don't agree with that, then stop listening to me now. But if something is new and it works, then I wouldn't say that it's better, but I would say that I'm happy that it exists. It's something new on the table.
Right. Well, I mean, like going back to No Country for Old Men, like you can tell like they're trying something new. They're trying to take this, sort of crime movie in a new direction. That we probably haven't seen before. And ultimately, I felt like the direction it went in was not good. It wasn't in a direction I thought was compelling or interesting. I felt like it just sort of petered out and nothing really meant anything. It just wasn't entertaining at all. And I'm also not a fan of that guy's books. I've tried to read a couple of them. I don't think he's interesting. I don't think his books are interesting, and I don't think his movies are interesting.
I read No Country for Old Men, and it's actually shocking how faithful the movie is to the book. So to anybody out there, you can watch the movie. You don't have to read the book. It's exactly the same. What it comes down to is your taste. I mean, I guess I fall for this stuff that Johnny just cannot fall for. It's impossible for Johnny to fall for this stuff. It's not this kind of romanticization of these hayseeds, these fucking whatever, like posturing, rootin' tootin' hayseeds. It's just not working. Not working for Johnny. For me, absolutely works. I get swept up in it. I think it's cool. I get swept up in it in the same way that I get swept up in a cowboy movie. Maybe it's not quite the same, but.
Or did you ever see that movie, 3 Billboards Outside of some fucking
Ebbing, Missouri?
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's another. I kind of was thinking of that movie too while I was watching this. That's another turkey.
Well, the problem with
that one I think is even more sort of like heavy-handed with the sentimentality and the overbearing Southern corncobbery bullshit.
I don't feel super compelled to defend that movie as much. I remember watching it and being okay with it, but one thing I did notice that I thought was kind of annoying was how every character. It really did feel like the writer was sort of a novice because every character had the same way of speaking, like the same way of talking. It's just kind of like, okay, so they're all. You could really sense that the voice of each character was coming from the same place, and you're just kind of like. There's not really like a lot of distinction between characters in this film. It's just some guy just trying to sound like that, trying to sound like that kind of Southern whatever we're talking about. This we're calling it corn cobbery, trying to sort of push that corn cobbery.
Sentimental corn cobbery.
Yeah, you keep saying sentimental. I didn't take that at all. Like, I don't think that Hell or High Water, like, just in sort of the little sort of vignettes with these little, like the old man fucking trying to cash in some rolls of coins in the beginning, the woman, the bank teller at the very, very beginning, the cute Native American girl at the other bank when they're having dinner, the fucking Kenny Powers' wife, the cowboy sitting at the diner after the robbery that Jeff Bridges questions, the lady at the fucking T-Bone Cafe, some of the fucking people who were kind of introduced to very briefly at the bank robbery that goes awry. Are these sentimental depictions? Some of them, maybe, not all of them. Definitely not the majority of them.
The old lady at the restaurant.
I mentioned her, the T-Bone Cafe.
I thought you were talking about the other lady at the other T-Bone Cafe.
No, there's only one T-Bone Cafe.
But isn't there, like, when Chris Pine, like, meets the Kenny Powers' wife?
Yeah.
Isn't he eating like a T-bone there too? Like,
yeah, but that's more of a, like, the T-Bone Cafe is not a catch-all euphemism. It's the place is called the T-Bone Cafe.
Yeah, so it's just, or like when they're, even moments like when they're sitting in their hotel room and the Indian guys watching the religious show, like there's just, or like just the slow pans across the landscape of like of billboards saying like sell your home, quick cash, and the refineries and the dilapidated houses, and it's just sort of like there's a lot of sentimentality there.
Yeah, it's painting a picture, man. I think that's, I'm not sure how it is in West Texas right now, but I mean, I know that, like, when I talk to my friends in show business, like, they're all feeling that way. They're all feeling the tightening of the belt. There's no work, everything
right,
sucks.
But like there's when you're dealing with these subjects, you have to sort of weigh, like, how much do I need to push this information? Do I have to keep like, say like you're making a movie about Hitler and Nazi Germany, like how often do I have to let everybody know that the Nazis were bad, like they were doing bad things, that they're bad people, they're bad. It's just like, okay, we get it. They're bad, you're good. It's just like at some point you just have to assume that the audience knows this. You have to be confident. Audience knows what's going on here. Like, I don't even think, like, I feel like even if we just set up the story of like, okay, the bank's going to foreclose on our home, let's rob banks. That's all the information I need. I don't need that hammered over my head constantly. Like, oh, okay, everybody's poor. Everything sucks. Everything's fucking. I feel bad. Look at all these poor people. It's just sort of like, just get to the fucking story.
I think any movie, like I feel like like Roadhouse does that. Like, I feel like there's so many movies that do that. So many movies that that you like and I like too that do that. But you're giving them a pass just because it's not this movie, and it's not this particular movie.
That's not the point of Roadhouse, where it is the point here. Like, it's the point.
Okay, fair enough. I'm okay. I disagree. I think that this is a good movie. I think that this is a movie that I would recommend. I think that it sets a good precedent for, like, an action movie made, like, after 2015. I like movies with I'd like to see movies with, like, lots of guns in them and people shooting them and people dying and it mattering.
Then watch Dragged Across Concrete if you want to see a good action movie made after 2015. Right.
Well, okay, I'll agree with that. I think that Dragged Across Concrete is a better action movie, even like in terms of like a neo-Western. is it? Not really. They're it's sort of more of like a cop kind of crooked cop kind of thing. There is sort of a Western element to it, like a stagecoach robbery.
It's kind of got a little bit of a noir, neo-noir. It's very neo-noir attitude, post neo-noir.
If you want to watch sort of a neo-noir, like urban kind of, when I say urban, I don't mean black people. I mean like in a city, but I also do mean black people.
If you want to watch a good Wigger action comedy, then watch Drag Across Concrete. Who was the world's greatest Wigger today?
Rappaport, Michael Rappaport.
But he's old, man.
It doesn't matter. That's how old Wiggers are now. He's the last of a dying breed.
He's like the world's oldest Wigger. He's like older than me.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. That's where the Wiggers are right now. You know,
I don't know.
I am not at all too good for sentimentality. Even in Dragged Across Concrete, the way that Jennifer Carpenter's character is like set up, like being like a recent mother, and like how that's
a really good example of just amazing sentimentality. Like it's working, like, because it starts off where like he basically like completely puts the brakes on the main story, and suddenly like you're in this what's her name? Jennifer
Carpenter.
Not Carter. Jennifer Carpenter. You're in her world, and you're like, who the fuck is this? What the fuck is going on? And she's at the door of her home, and you know, you start getting the story of like, she just had this baby and she didn't want to leave the baby. She has to go back to work, and the husband's just like, look, the baby will be fine. Just go back to work. And when it starts, I'm kind of like, oh, come on, let's go. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's like you can kind of feel like whatever he's doing right now, it's not working. But then he doubles down on it. Like, he makes like a whole, like the whole, like, I don't know how long it is. It's like a 30-minute, like,
sequence
in the middle of the movie of her like with the husband and the baby, and she doesn't want to go back to work, but she has to, and by the time she gets her brains blown out, you're just like, it worked. Like, it fucking worked. And
I don't know, man. I think it's pretty fucking schmaltzy, pretty fucking corny, to be honest.
I thought like that was a perfect example of it working. Man,
I'm just joking. I actually like it as well, because I'm not gonna fucking pretend like it's not working on me. You know, it is. It's definitely working on me.
So you're saying I'm pretending?
No, you're saying that. I didn't say that.
Okay.
But in any case, okay.
My real review is Hell or High Water, 5 eggplants.
There you go. You heard it here first. Listen, it's not as good as Dragged Across Concrete, but I mean, the thing is like, if you're down with that kind of like that kind of hayseed shit, that kind of like wide open spaces, West Texas kind of thing, Johnny doesn't seem to want to surrender to that. I understand. There's some vibes that just are not for everybody. You know, for me, I ate it up, and for me, this is a 4. So 1 less than Johnny's review.
Yeah, I'll have to think like if there's some other films from like that area, like modern. I don't know, like Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia.
No,
maybe?
But we can't.
Like,
We can't go. All that shit from the '70s is great, and we agree upon that. We need to think of modern stuff.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
I'll have to think. I don't think that there's anything, and I definitely don't think this is something to watch.
I think this is something that like it feels a little sparse to me, like just in terms of action. It feels a little bit like there is a long period of time kind of between the time that they the diner, the scene with Kenny Powers' wife, that robbery that happens, and the big robbery that happens I believe in the town of Post, where where the robbery goes awry. There's a big period of time where kind of not a lot happens, and there's a lot of like setting things up for later. That's a weakness of the film in my mind, but it does set a good precedent for just a movie that feels this way. You know, it's a good sort of first offering. The follow up, I think it's the follow up. Those Who Wish Me Dead is an inferior film, but I don't know. I'm definitely keeping my eye on the motion pictures that are written by Taylor Sheridan. I do believe that he's a less talented Zoller in terms of what he's trying to do. Zoller's a lot more transgressive, and he's willing to step on a lot more toes, and he's just a more courageous filmmaker. But and Taylor Sheridan is almost like the watered down version. But I still think there's enough kick in there that makes me support his career and makes me want to continue like watching his films. But not Yellowstone, because that's just too much for me that I can't relate to it. Too much Western.
This is like
shit.
one of those movies that like if you're hanging out at Thanksgiving at your parents' house and like nobody can agree on something to watch, like this is something you can all watch.
This is a movie that brings people together from the mouth of Johnny Rhyme. All right, let's get on to a movie that we can agree on, at least, is 1980s Alligator, starring Robert Forster and Robin Riker, I believe. I think that this is one of the very few movies that she did. She's so fucking pretty in this movie. Goodness gracious.
Which one is she? She's the scientist?
The lizard lady, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I remember this is a movie that my dad taped off TV, and so we were watching this when we were really little. So this is a movie that's been in my life for like a really, really long time. It was just on a taped off TV with commercials still on there, movie that me and my sister would watch all the time. So there is a nostalgic component to it, to me, to how much I like this movie. But then there was a long period of time where I hadn't watched it. And then when it occurred to me to watch it again, I was like in my mid-30s, and I watched it again. I was like, no, I was totally right that this is actually like a really well-constructed movie. It's funny. You should see the poster. I'll actually use that as the poster in the thumbnail for Alligator. The UK poster is like a full-on like comedy poster. It's like this illustrated goofy alligator like tied up in a knot or some shit. Like they really pushed this as a comedy movie just because of, I guess, the quippy kind of fun dialogue that Robert Forster gives pretty consistently throughout the entire film. This is the film that I believe Quentin Tarantino saw and thought, oh, I need to get this guy for Jackie Brown. This is the fucking actor. This performance is what got him that role. So that's just a little bit of trivia for you there. But yeah, okay, so why don't you tell me about Alligator? You're the one who saw it most recently.
Yeah, it's solid. It's a solid movie. I enjoyed all the... Because like with a movie like this, you're always kind of, okay, the animals are going to attack.
Just say what it's about first.
Oh, well, it's a alligator in the sewer. Some kid gets their baby alligator thrown in the sewer, and the alligator grows up and starts killing people. The first people he kills is Charlie Cheswick from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. This feels like almost like is it Larry Cohen, the guy who did Q, the winged serpent? Yeah. So it feels almost like a Larry Cohen kind of a movie.
That's true. But it's interesting. At the very beginning, there's a little reference to Medium Cool. There's the whole, like on the radio, they're listening to the 68 Democratic National Convention in Chicago. And that's basically what Medium Cool is about. Right.
Yeah. I tried to watch Medium Cool recently, and I kept falling asleep. But I noticed Robert Forster running around an apartment naked and then wrestling with a lady.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a pretty good movie. Like I definitely think it's sort of an interesting time capsule.
Sure.
You know, it's like, especially, I think Robert Forster's really good in it. And the fact that, they were able to get all this footage from that period of time in Chicago was interesting. It's interesting. It's worth watching.
Let's get into Alligator and your impressions.
I liked that I was going to say before you interrupted me, I liked the fact that I would say it's like on par with, first of all, we can just put Jaws aside because I feel like that is kind of like when it comes to killer animal movies, that's probably arguably the pinnacle of killer animal movies.
Yeah, the gold standard.
Right. So, okay, so underneath that, I think there's Alligator and possibly Grizzly. Both, I think, or maybe even Piranha too. Like, I think all those deliver, like, you want to see these animals kill and eat children. And yeah, you get that.
Did you like Orca?
I saw Orca when I was like in high school, and I remember being disappointed.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe I need to rewatch it if you think I should, but
well, I'm nervous about recommending anything to you these days, man. Like, I mean,
you're batting zero.
Well, that's not true. You remember the ones that the ones that you don't like, but you quickly assimilate the ones that you do like. Like, I mean, I got Pichote for you.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah. What else did I get?
See, they're not all bad.
Fucking Deadly Hero is pretty good. You like Betrayed.
Betrayed was okay.
Yeah, but Orca. The cool thing about Orca is that it is a killer animal movie, but more than a killer animal movie, it's like a revenge movie. And the Charles Bronson of Orca is the Orca. It's like the main character kills the mate of the Orca early on in the film, and then you find out that the Orca is the female one is pregnant. So like they have the female Orca hoisted up on a crane, and then all of a sudden this like fetal Orca kind of like, I guess the trauma of being caught causes like a premature birth, and then this little weird like, latex fucking Orca shoots out of this Orca's vagina and lands on the deck, and they quickly like get that thing off my boat. Oh my God, it's a bad omen. And he sweeps it off the deck with a push broom, and it lands in the water. And then the male Orca is just like, you motherfucker. And then after that, this Orca has a vendetta that he carries with him for the rest of its life, trying to kill this motherfucker who killed his mate. And it follows him to like this the town where he lives, and it starts destroying all the boats in the harbor, and then like it manages to fuck up the pumping station in some way where it causes like this fire, and then like the refinery blows up and all this shit. And then all the Indians in town are like, you have to go out and face him. If you don't go out and face him, this will never end. And it's like, I just want to drive. Why do I have to go across the ocean? Let me just drive, away. He's like, no, we took your car. You have to do this. Like they make him go out into the ocean to face the Orca. And then it culminates sort of in this Arctic Circle kind of fight where he's out. The thing has destroyed his boat. So the boat sinks, and now he's standing on the ice sheets on top of the water. And the Orca's just like busting through and just trying to get him like whack-a-mole. And that whole, just, recontextualizing the animal attack movie into a revenge movie like that, where the Orca is the one seeking vengeance, I thought was a lot of fun and really original. And also...
Isn't Bo Derek in it too?
She is, but she is, and she loses a leg, spoiler, to the Orca. But also...
It'd be funny if she squirts out her fetus, and then they're even.
Yeah, exactly. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, that was the thing. Is that I think Orca came out in 70. I want to say like 76 7, like a few years after
That sounds right.
Yeah, and then but the thing is that it was marketed at, like, if you thought Jaws was scary, then watch out for Orca. Like, it was, all the marketing was pretty much like piggybacking off of Jaws, and then when it came out,
Right.
it wasn't really like Jaws. It was actually something. Well, I mean, just like we were talking about with Hell or High Water, it's not something necessarily better, but it's a different angle. It's like
Right.
this.
Well, even in Alligator, there's Jaws music cues
Yeah.
that happen, like when you're, because sometimes you're getting the alligator's point of view as it's like coming down the sewer pipe, and you're hearing like dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
And I mean, that doesn't necessarily bother me, but it is sort of a reminder of like, okay, this is just kind of like a Jaws copycat.
What's funny about Alligator, and I noticed this when I was a little kid, is that in Jaws, when they fake you out, like when they have the POV thing and the camera is like moving towards like a would-be victim, the only time that music is used in Jaws is when it actually is Jaws, and when it's not, they don't use that music. They'll either do it with no music, or they'll just use a different kind of music. But so like it's honest in that regard. Whereas in Alligator, they will use it for the fake outs as well. Like there's a part where like that young sort of rookie goes down into the sewers with Robert Forster, and he grabs his ass while Robert Forster is like looking in a storm drain, and Jesus, man, are you gonna puke all over the goddamn computer or what?
Hey, it's my computer. I'll buy a new one.
Okay, I'm just worried about you, man. But the thing is yeah, like the Alligators. Like I always thought, like, damn, like, because Jaws was big in my life back then, and so was Alligator, and I always thought like, Alligator is the it's more dishonest than Jaws, because it's using the music to fake you out, whereas Jaws would never stoop to that level. But yeah, no, I mean, a great movie, like
Jaw doesn't lie to me.
Yeah, great performance by our boy Robert Forster. Very, very like relatable. Like there's also sort of this like theme of like cowardice that happens, because he apparently, what happens is there's a robbery where some guy put a roll of quarters against the small of his back and said that if he moved, he was gonna fucking shoot him. Like the roll of quarters was being used as a gun to trick him into thinking the guy had a gun, and then this all culminates in his partner dying, and Robert Forster feeling really bad because he just froze, and basically his cowardice resulted in a partner dying. So I don't know. That's kind of interesting, because like it's hard to kind of sympathize with that. Like, well, I mean, it's easy to relate to that, but it's also as a movie character, it's kind of like, oh, so this guy's just a cop who doesn't know how to do his job. He's a guy who just freezes when there's danger and doesn't know how to react. He's the kind of guy who gets punched in the face and stands there not knowing what to do, as opposed to immediately jumping into action.
But we only, like, that aspect of him being a coward is something that he's like living with, but in the movie, there's no scene with him having to confront his cowardice. Like, it seems like that's all in the past. And he's kind of living with that shame, but we don't see that manifesting in the film. Like he's always like going down in the sewer. He's always like he's on the forefront of like trying to get this alligator. If there is
a callback, because like I mean they spend some time really driving that into your head. Like you have that kind of dark complected, like sort of Indian looking reporter guy photographer,
Oh, right.
who's like, aren't you the same, whatever the fuck the guy's name is, whatever Robert Forrester's name is, aren't you the same Robert Forrester who lost his partner in the bank robbery in St. Louis 3 years ago? And he's like, yeah, like during the press conference. And then, so you have that scene of this goddamn photographer.
Well, he's definitely like living, he's definitely living with the shame of that moment. But yeah, he doesn't come across, like at no point in the film does he come across as behaving cowardly. He never does anything cowardly. He never pauses to be like, I don't know. Like he's always like, he seems to be dealing more with the shame of what happened rather than he's dealing with his cowardice.
Sure. Absolutely. The point I'm trying to make though, is that they say that one time and you kind of get a little bit of a glimpse into it. And then later when he's kind of gotten closer with Robin Riker, he explains more and he actually tells the story to her in a pretty fleshed out way. And that's when you it's revealed, it was just a roll of quarters. The guy totally played me and I ended up killing my partner. Then if it's not like this is just a story that doesn't end up paying off in any way, because indeed he does lose another partner when he goes into the sewer and he ends up losing that rookie guy. And I mean, one could make an argument that like he could have done something different or I'm not really sure. I mean, they were basically just running the same thing. They were going around trying to look for clues, and all of a sudden they're confronted by this like monstrous, enormous alligator, and at that point they're just running for their lives. They're not. It's a panic situation, and then he gets to the manhole first. He can't release the manhole from its whatever it's fixing or whatever you want to call it.
He can't open the manhole.
He can't open the manhole. He's too weak. Yep. And then he just watches that guy die. There's also that fucking part where they introduce the time bomb that they used to kill the alligator at the very end, where that guy comes into the police station and he's like, I'm gonna kill all of you guys, and then Robert Forrester's like, look, man, I wanted to be a priest, all right, but I became a cop instead, so you fucking do what you need to do. I'm out of here. And then like when the attention of the fucking bomber is drawn to Robert Forrester leaving, he gives the cue to like the rookie to go in and like, catch this guy, and then they disarm the bomb, which I guess kind of in a way shows that he is actually capable of like quick thinking and thinking on his feet, So it is sort of a little moment where we see like, okay, this guy's not a total fuck up at all, but he's got some shame.
Like it seems like whatever that situation in the past was just bad luck.
Yeah.
Bad, like he made a bad call or whatever. He was tricked. Like you don't get the feeling like this guy's like a cowardly piece of shit.
No, he's just a guy. He's just a guy like you or me, But
I want to get to my favorite part of the film, which is Henry Silva.
Oh, your boyfriend.
Once they finally believe Robert Forrester that there's an alligator in the sewer, because they don't for like most of the movies, like nobody believes him. When they finally do believe him, then they're like, okay, we need to hire the world's #1 animal hunter. So they hire, and that's Henry Silva, and he comes on the scene. As soon as Henry Silva's on the scene, Robert Forrester's like, all right, bye. I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with this shit. So now Henry Silva's in charge of hunting the alligator, and so he then hires 2 black kids from the street, from just like the neighborhood. Yeah. Like he pays them in liquor to help him find the alligator, and then he goes hunting the alligator with his 2 new urban friends.
Yep. And then he ends up getting eaten in an alley. The alligator's just hiding under a big pile of garbage.
And he gets kind of like disposed of fairly quickly.
Yeah, good riddance.
But it's always fun to see him pop up in a film as like some kind of crazy he's not necessarily a villain in this, but he's not. He's definitely an antagonistic presence.
Yeah, he's who is he like? Do you remember that? Remember in Unforgiven, there's that English guy, and he's like the Duke of Death. He's kind of like, do you remember that? It's this old English guy. Well, in Unforgiven, there's like this guy who kind of comes traipsing through, looking to claim the reward or the bounty on the cowboys that cut up that woman's face. And so this old English guy, I don't know who the actor is, but he calls himself the Duke of Death. And Gene Hackman is just like, we don't want any bounty hunters around here. And he's just kind of like, oh, Mr. Gene Hackman, I'm just here admiring the town. I'm not here collecting any bounty. And then Gene Hackman's just like, oh, okay, cool. Well, then why don't you give up your guns? And he's like, okay, sure. So he gives up his guns, but then he doesn't give up the Derringer on his ankle. And then Gene Hackman beats the living bejesus out of him. But the whole idea is that this guy is the Duke of Death is like, if there's one bounty hunter that's going to be able to catch the cowboys that cut up this girl's face, it's going to be this fucking guy. That's obviously the audience knows that it's going to be Clint Eastwood as soon as he learns to get drunk again. But it's the same thing with Henry Silva and Alligator. It's like everybody's eyes turn to Henry Silva. This is the guy who's going to save us from the alligator. And then after he's quickly dispatched, Robert Forster, kind of reclaims the faith or the goodwill of the people or whatever. Or I guess that's not really true. He doesn't really reclaim any goodwill until the point that he actually kills the alligator with that big explosion.
Or maybe he's supposed to be a version of who's the old guy? I'm trying to remember the actor's name in Jaws.
Quint?
Robert
Shaw.
Yeah. Shaw. Yeah. Robert Shaw?
Shaw. S-H-A-W.
S-H-A-W. But his first name's Robert, right?
Yes.
Or no?
Yes.
He's also in The Taking of Pelham 123. He's really good.
Did you ever see Black Sunday?
No, actually haven't.
You should watch Black Sunday. That's a good one with him.
Okay. But I feel like the Henry Silva was sort of like, okay, this is going to be our answer to Robert
Shaw.
Shaw.
Yeah.
Robert Shaw.
Yeah, that's actually a good example too. Like he's the guy who everyone is putting all their chips on, but really it's Roy Scheider who ends up the reluctant kind of hero. Robert Forster, reluctant hero. Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven, kind of the reluctant hero. And then there's sort of this guy who's everyone's looking to solve the problem. The obvious guy who's going to take care of business, but then he ends up failing, and then that raises the stakes for everybody because it's like, oh my God, I can't believe that Jaws took out Robert Shaw. Although that does happen like all in kind of one sort of combined sequence at the end of Jaws. But anyways,
Henry Silva's sort of more like, even though they're like, this guy's an expert, he doesn't display any expertise in any way other than his only his only expertise is I'm going to give alcohol to these black kids to help me find the alligator.
Right.
That's the only thing that's his only move.
Well, he also goes on TV and he flirts with a reporter by making alligator mating calls. Do you remember that part?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. I can't even explain to you how well I know this movie just because I used to watch it all the time. It's basically just burnt into my memory. But
I just remember it being on TV when I was a kid, so that's probably the last time I watched it.
Yeah. There's a part, well, I mean, how fucking cool is the first reveal of the alligator where it busts up during that street baseball game and it eats the leg of that cop. Yeah. Like that's such a great fucking scene and just such a great reveal of the alligator, it busting through the street like that. And then
I also like when it eats the kid and they're playing pirate and they throw the kid in the swimming pool.
Yeah, that's scary, dude. Like the part where they turn on the lights and then you just see its mouth open up and it almost looks like it's fucking just grinning sardonically up at that kid, Like that part scared the fucking shit out of me when I was a kid. I was just like, oh great, Like I would never go swimming at night.
I feel like the days of like having kids being killed so easily. That's something that's gone from cinema these days.
It's coming back. It's coming back. Terrifier 3 sort of toes the line with that, but they don't show anything on screen, and it's a little bit disappointing because that's where you need to go. Even the most recent Evil Dead movie, the Evil Dead Rise or whatever, like it's not good, but
Right.
but it does have like, you know, young kids dying in it. And when I say young, I mean like, you know, maybe like 14. We're not talking like really young kids, like 6-year-olds. But hopefully I can help with that myself. Hopefully that the next film that I do, I'll be able to kill a few kids. I think that's something that we're ready for as an audience in general, as a general audience. And then of course there's the big scene at the very end with the wedding, where like so many people are hit with the tail and go flying. One guy goes flying through the wedding cake. You know, I always used to laugh at that. Then the alligator destroys the car. That's and inside the car.
It was funny that like the alligator specifically going towards the old man that runs that scientific
pharmaceutical company.
Animal testing company. He knows exactly like I got to get this guy.
Yeah.
But I was disappointed that like he kind of just kills the guy by squashing him in the car. Like I wanted him to. You want the alligator to eat the people.
Yeah. I mean that made, you're right. Like I mean it would have been nice if like you got to see him eaten, like you see Henry Silva getting eaten. But that made that, I love the look on her face when she's getting eaten. She just looks utterly terrified and covered in that 70s like Dawn of the Dead stage blood, that blood that's a little too kind of almost pink and waxy. But that whole wedding bit is so fucking sick. What else is cool about Alligator? I don't know. There's like it's pretty straightforward. There's not really like a whole lot to talk about with something like this. Probably the most interesting.
There's a good cast, like I said. There's Charlie Cheswick at the beginning, Henry Silva.
There's that guy who talks like this, who's his boss, and you see him in a lot of movies, and he's got a mustache. And what's his name?
Oh yeah, he's from The Godfather 2.
Right. What's that movie? Dean Jagger, I think his name is.
I can't remember.
Alligator. I think his name's Dean Jagger. But I type in alligator into Google thinking it's going to give me the movie, but instead it just gives me an alligator. Oh, my bad. Dean Jagger is in the movie. He plays the mayor, but it's actually Michael V. Gazzo who plays the chief. David, you're off the force. Give me your badge.
He's got a big role in Godfather 2. He also used to be on TV all the time. Like he used to be like just a character actor that would show up on sitcoms and stuff constantly. Yeah.
Yep. So there you go. There's Alligator for you. Alligator for me, just because of just how flawed. Like I'd say this is a pretty flawless movie, except for maybe like, you know, special effects are a bit shoddy, but whatever. I mean,
and also the third man reference at the end of the movie.
What's the third man
like
reference?
You can tell like somebody is like a movie nerd. Whoever made this was like a movie nerd. Like they're putting all these like little movie Easter eggs.
Yeah.
But like when they're going around in the sewer, there's like there's graffiti on the wall that says like Harry Lime lives or something.
Huh.
That's the name of the villain that Orson Welles plays in The Third Man.
Huh. Well, there you go. Louis Teague, consummate film buff. I give Alligator a 4.
I'm going to give it a 3.5.
Yep. I give it a 4 because I really do believe that this is a pretty flawless movie. It moves along wonderfully. It's got great performances, got a great cast. It's got great...
I like all the jokes about Robert Forster's weird hair.
Yeah.
His weird... Like he's going bald.
Yeah.
And he's got a very like... It's not like a... It's a very odd bald pattern,
Yeah.
balding pattern that he's got going.
He's got a little a tuft in the front.
Yeah, and it's sort of like people are constantly like calling him on. Like people are like, what's up with your hair?
Yeah. Or some guys like, you ever think about going to a stylist? You know, you grow long on the sides and they swoop it over. No one can tell you're bald. You know, he's actually considering it. You know, it's actually really funny. Kind of a funny part is when after the young rookie dies, then they hang like a rubber alligator on his locker, and it's just like, what the fuck? Like, what? He's one of your guys and he just died. And why are you gonna, like, if you're gonna give him shit about it, why don't you, like, to his face give him shit about it instead of like playing like a little girl joke like that, you know? I don't know. It just seemed to me
or instead of a rubber alligator, put like a Ken doll dressed as a cop, because that's what that guy looked like that died.
Right. Or instead
so
of
it could be like, you killed this guy.
Instead of a rubber alligator, they could just put like a used condom on his locker.
Or like a big rubber dildo. It'd be funny if they just like are busting his balls about being gay for like no reason.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're some kind of queer, huh?
It's like, I don't know why everybody at the force thinks I'm queer. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on here.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, there you go, everybody. We got through another episode of the show. Hell or High Water. Not liked by Johnny, liked by me. Alligator, we can at least agree upon as a fine film. Of course, we're going to agree upon that. You know, the thing is around here is that, like, you know, pretty much the entire decade of the 70s is pretty much safe terrain. Anything beyond that, you know, things start to get a little rocky once we pass the millennium.
The closer we get to now, the worse it gets.
Yeah,
I think we can agree on that.
Yeah. Well, you know, I am, you know, ostensibly still working as a filmmaker, so I don't really want to like close my mind off to things still being good, or at least it being possible for things to be good. You know.
It's possible. It's just it's not happening.
You know. Well, what do you? Let's talk about that for a second. What do you think needs to happen?
I think there just needs to be studios that are going to take risks, that are going to let filmmakers say what they want to say and do what they want to do. Like, I think there needs to just be more freedom. I think the internet has created this sort of it's created this sort of like social policing that keeps certain stories from being told. There's things people don't want to discuss because it'll be too upsetting or hurt people's feelings. Like, I think we're in this area where we're trying not to hurt people's feelings or make people upset, and I think we need to, if we're able to get back to a place where artists are able to make films and write stories that are challenging and transgressive. I don't know how to get there. I think they're just and it's harder. Maybe in the 90s, early 2000s, we could rely on independent film to sort of lead the charge with that. But now that world, like both independent and studio films, are just completely just possessed by the sort of social justice woke mindset that I think that's just going to keep art imprisoned. So, yeah. And this actually kind of brings me back to something like, the work of Taylor Sheridan and Hell or High Water. Like, after you saying that kind of like helps me to kind of wrap my head around kind of what I was trying to say before, is that I think that what that guy's doing, although it may not be what you want to be seeing, I do think that it provides like, or rather it reveals another, because I mean, you can't just make movies for yourself and expect people to, pay
millions of dollars for you to just make whatever fucking movie you want. Like there has to be an audience, like a targeted audience, you know. That's just the way it is, and it's difficult because as we move forward in time, it becomes less and less of a wise investment to invest in a film. So like you have to kind of convince people that whatever the fuck you're making, people are going to want to watch it. And what something like, let's just say something like Yellowstone reveals is that there's this other general audience that's not sort of like the woke kind of whatever the fuck, like coastal cities, you know, whatever, just like LA, New York kind of mindset, where we see movies and we hear people talking about the same kind of shit, talking about things the same ways, using the same language, relating to each other in the same ways. Something like Yellowstone kind of shows like, oh, okay, there's another general audience, and it's more just like these other Americans that maybe Hollywood films haven't really been like, you know, focusing their attention on. So maybe it's not the right thing, but at least it shows that there's more than just fucking, you know, maybe it just shows that there's more than just New York, LA. It shows that there's more than just like blue state kind of propaganda.
For me, it's like two sides of the same coin. It's sort of like, okay, you're going to get like, you know, New York and LA get like Euphoria, and then, you know, Oklahoma gets Yellowstone. And it's just like both are like, it's just like, okay, this movie panders to this audience, and this TV show panders to this audience, this TV show panders to this other audience. And I know, like, okay, you want to make a film where it does, you know, it is successful because, you know, you want to have an audience. I get it. But at the same time, you can't let the audience determine. Like, I feel like the state that we're in now is like it's never been more audience, or what people think is what, you know, we're audience driven. Like, we have to make sure that what we're making here appeals to the audience in every possible way. It has to have a nice ending. We can't use these words. We can't do this. We can't do that. We don't want to upset anybody. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So we got to toe that middle line, like all the way down you know, and I think that we can do better than that. Like, I feel like we need artists that have very unique and specific visions that are, you know, that are going to surprise us, that are going to be upsetting, that are going to possibly be sad, that will possibly be disturbing, that might actually like make people upset and take to the streets. And, you know, if that happens, then that to me is sort of like we need we need that type of art. Like, that's the point of art, is to move people, not just to like make them feel like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know,
I mean, what I'm saying is just that, like, you know, before Oklahoma didn't have anything, and now Oklahoma has like something like Yellowstone. So it's what I'm saying
that's a relief.
What I'm just saying, it's a step. You know, we like you're proposing this pie in the sky solution that is, you know, it's, you know, because it's not top down anymore. It's not like you just make a movie and people go to see it. Now there's this whole like there's this whole ecosystem that's completely different.
No, and I get that, but the thing is like I lived through a time where that actually happened. Like, I saw it, and so it's not impossible. It's just like right now it just seems like we're not living in a world where people want that.
And I should also say too that like there, you know, obviously like there's all kinds of movies being made about all subjects, and there's all sorts of point of views out there. It's just a matter of like, you know, number one, you know, whether you get to see it or not, like whether it gets like any kind of effective distribution. And of course, the bigger issue is budget. You know, making films is expensive, and like, you know, so really what I'm talking about is as a certain level of production, like a certain a certain minimum of budget. And that's when I see Taylor Sheridan's stuff, I'm seeing, relatively big budget productions made that are kind of targeted towards more of like a right-wing demographic, whereas that just didn't exist. As little as like 10 years ago, So that's why I kind of like that stuff. It feels to me like it's revealing an audience that wants to see.
Or like Sean Baker, I think so far has been especially with like Red Rocket, I feel like is a director that is incorporating some transgressive things that we haven't been seeing in films. Like he'll put in sex, he'll put in people talking about sex, sexual, like, questionable sexual things going on. And he's able to do it because he's such a good filmmaker and he's a good storyteller. So it's sort of like, okay, here's an example of somebody he's doing it. Like we need more Sean Bakers.
Sure. I mean, but at the same time,
Craig Zollers.
nobody's watching, like, everyone's talking about, like, all you guys, like LA, New York, big cities are all talking about how much they love Enora. But like Enora is a coastal city phenomenon. It's a blue state phenomenon. Like people, nobody gives a fuck about Enora who aren't or Sean Baker for that matter, who aren't like in sort of the showbiz kind of pool. I love Sean Baker. I think that his films are some of the very best that have come out. I'll drop everything to see it when it comes out in the theater. I'll go see it
But I mean, like, then what is an example of like? I feel like Yellowstone is not a good example of entertainment that is sort of like this is like I don't see Yellowstone as being equal to or greater than what Sean Baker's doing.
No.
And even though some hayseed in Iowa might like it, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good.
You're missing my point.
They're watching like Honey Boo Boo and stuff.
Yeah, you're missing my point. Like I'm trying to say that like with like sort of the Hollywood kind of entertainment, like the kind of stuff that we've usually been getting with this sort of Hollywood used to be kind of like center left. Now it's all pretty left. Like just in terms of like the bedrock of politics that define the film, like what's good, what's bad, like what are the basic values within the universe of this film that I'm watching. It's all pretty left. In this world, it's better to be anti-gun. It's better to be pro-abortion or whatever. Like in the foundational politics that kind of are laid out in a film have all been kind of left. And what something like Yellowstone and Taylor Sheridan and also Zoller, he just doesn't exist on that. He's just a small fish in the big picture of things. Like Zoller's a better writer and a better filmmaker than Taylor Sheridan by leaps and bounds, but he's just not operating on that Yellowstone level, like the size of the audience. But what I'm saying is that like,
and I feel like that goes back to what I was saying about like that sort of sappy sentimentality. That's what is appealing to, even though you could say like both filmmakers have a sort of conservative angle to their work. Here you have, one guy who's doing like very sort of like, basically mainstream stuff that appeals to a wider audience, is because it's sappy and sentimental and has that, it's fucking sappy, hokey shit. Whereas Craig is doing stuff that feels edgier and more dangerous.
Yeah, it's more that's the thing. It's more complicated
and ultimately more interesting.
Sure, it's more complicated. It's more interesting because it's more complicated, and it's not as cut and dry as everything else. At the end of the day, things that are cut and dry, things that have good morals with big quotation marks, are going to be the things that do better for general audiences, because people just want to see stuff that's like easy to fucking get. Oh, that guy, the good guy won, so I'm happy. But what I'm saying is that for a long time, what the good guy needed to do to be good have always been this. What stuff like Yellowstone and this more sort of right-wing red state kind of shit, it still needs to have good values, good morals, and the good guy needs to win. But what the good guy needs to be is now different. Like his values are different. So what it is it's just like it's gone from there being one kind of way to look at the world to now there's another kind of way to look at the world, and it's making money. So if there's two kind of audiences, then that's or two kinds of targeted audiences, or rather audiences that have been successfully targeted and that can be marketed to, so that it's financially what's the word? Financially feasible for this to be a business. Because for better or for worse, it's art, but it's got to work as a business, or else no one's going to be putting any money into these fucking things. I think that it's a good thing, because at least there's something else. At least it's revealing that there's something else.
If we were living during a time where, because back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever, they would make big fucking stupid movies, and these movies would make an enormous amount of money, and then they would take that money and then they could use that money to spend on smaller, more experimental things. We don't live in that time anymore. Now it's just purely this has to work or that's it.
Well, you'd be surprised.
This has to appeal to the widest possible audience. Everything has to appeal to everyone at all times, and that's where we're at now.
You'd be surprised. I think that sort of the model of the shotgun approach model of
hobo with a shotgun.
Hobo with a shotgun, the approach of having I don't know, let's say $10 million, or no, let's say $20 million to make 10 films over a year, just $2 million. I mean, that's the thing. Budgets are getting lower and lower and lower for films. People are looking at things like fucking the Terrifier movies, or I don't know. I mean, Anora wasn't a cheap film at all. I think that might have been a $10 million budget. Still a fucking low budget in the grand scheme of things. For me, $10 million is what would I do with $10 million to make a film? The possibilities are mind-boggling for me. But making a film in America is fucking, it's really expensive.
You can hire Angelina Jolie. You can have her being in Sadness too.
Yeah, but the point is that. Everyone's kind of, from what I understand, I mean, from just my phone calls and stuff and the people I'm talking to, everyone's just trying to figure out how to make sense of what to do now, since nothing's working. I mean, that movie Red One that just came out, that's in theaters. It's about how Santa Claus is a fucking tough guy or something, and they have to save him, and the rocks in it and shit.
Yeah.
This is a movie. It's you watch the trailer for that, and you think, oh, business as usual, just another fucking $200 million movie that's completely fucking retarded and no one's going to see. But the truth of that is that deal for that movie was signed 5 years ago. They penned that deal, that was a decision made 5 years ago. So, and those kinds of decisions to make movies like that at that budget level are not being made anymore. That's we're catching the final dregs of an older age, and things are changing now. So yeah, I mean, we might start to see things kind of get a little more interesting, maybe, but with at least stuff stuff like Hell or High Water, Yellowstone. I'm sick and tired of saying the word Yellowstone, but stuff like that, because I don't even watch the fucking show, but what it represents.
Nobody does.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. That's the point, is that a lot of people do. Nobody in LA does.
No,
but
they don't.
Yes, they do.
The internet is just telling you that, oh, this is a big hit in the Midwest. But it's not.
No, that's not even. That's the opposite. That nobody talks about Yellowstone. Nobody tweets about Yellowstone. But the fucking numbers show that it gets watched a lot. It's being watched by.
It's fake.
Says who? Big Yellowstone.
Everybody in the Midwest is just on meth, man. They're not watching Yellowstone.
That's all they're doing. They got nothing else to do. They come home bleary eyed. They sit down on the couch and they try to watch stuff that isn't full of people.
It's just a bunch of meth smoking wiggers.
They sit down on their couch and they try to just put on anything that isn't going to be trying to tell them that they should be happy that their son's trans. You should. In the titles, you should put this as the Wigger episode. I was already thinking about that, but I don't know that I can actually type that out. That's too much of a heat score. Anyways, yeah, well, we're gonna end the show. Thanks a lot for your time. Yeah, I know, right? But anyways, see you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.